Hello, my name is Hope Watley, and for my sustainability project, I wanted to focus on recycling and seeing how much me and my family recycle so that I can kind of get an idea of how much recycling we're doing and how it's making an impact on the planet. So, about my family, we've always been pretty good at recycling since I can remember. We've always recycled, we've always had it picked up, we've been pretty good at it. But just recently we moved out to Harris County, and Harris County actually doesn't pick up recycling. So we've had to make an adjustment with how we recycle because of that. So instead of our recycling getting picked up, we actually have to take our recycling to a different place. So what my dad does is he takes the recycling to Cooper Creek whenever our recycling bin fills up. So that's something that we've had to adjust with our recycling. And so my family, we have different places that we put our recycling. So we actually have a trash can in our kitchen, so it pulls out and there's the trash. And then there's also the back bin is where we put some of our recycling, kind of some of the smaller objects. We'll throw some bottles in there, some smaller boxes that we unfold. We'll put those in there. And then out on our back porch, we actually have we'll call it a medium-sized recycling bin that we put some of our bigger cardboard boxes in, ones that won't fit in the smaller one, and things like that. And then our biggest recycling bin, we have one of the huge ones that after a bag of recycling from the kitchen one fills up, we throw it in there. So we have different places that we keep it to help us keep our recycling organized. And so what I was doing was I was counting out of the medium recycling bin and the smaller recycling bin. I was measuring those before they went into the big recycling bin each week or each time the bag filled up, whichever happened first. And that's how I was keeping track of it. So there's a lot of things that they don't tell you with recycling, I guess, because I had to learn these on my own. But there's really specific rules about recycling. And if you do something wrong, it can mess up the whole thing. So I actually went onto the Waste Management website, and it had rules and do's and don'ts of recycling. And I scrolled through that, and it actually helped me understand better what I should be doing with my recycling and what I shouldn't be doing with my recycling. So little things like cleaning your plastic bottles before you put them in, taking wrappers off, things like that beforehand I was super lazy and just you would skip over that step and just throw a lot of the recycling just in the bin without doing any of those previous steps. So that's one of the things that I got better with throughout this project. I actually made the effort to clean them. I made the effort to make sure that everything I was doing was right so that it wouldn't just go to waste, because I want my recycling to actually be recycled. Another thing that my family, we had to change recently is that Columbus, and since Harris County doesn't pick up recycling, we put our recycling in Columbus. And since Columbus doesn't recycle glass anymore, we've had to try to figure out what to do with that. Because we used to recycle all our glass, and now that we have to throw it away, we try to first find other people that might want it. We try to find ways to reuse it. So we're trying not to waste all the glass that we have. So along with cleaning all of the recycling, I was measuring in pounds how much I was actually recycling. So I kind of did a little guesstimate of what it was each week before. So I had it into 4 categories, which was in my Excel sheet. I had plastic, paper, cardboard, and aluminum. Those are my 4 categories of what I was recycling. So I kind of measured it in pounds each week, how much of each of those categories was there. So I had an estimate of how much it was in pounds before I started the project. And then once I started the project, I was measuring how much I had of that recycling that week. So what I would do is I had a scale that I would actually set my recycling on. And the scale was kind of tricky because it's meant to weigh people. That's what the scale is for. So it took a little trial and error to get it to actually work to weigh my recycling, because I wanted to use something that I already had on hand for this project. So what we did was I actually would place the recycling on the scale to get a measurement of how much each category weighed. If it didn't all fit on the scale, I would actually get a like Rubbermaid bin, and you had to be careful with this because you had to actually put it on the scale first and see how much it weighed. And then after you knew how much it weighed, you kind of write that number down so that you know that number. And then you put all the recycling in the bin. And then you'll do some subtraction to get the actual, just the number of how much the recycling weighed. So that was a little tricky. You had to be careful with how that worked. So what I did in my Excel sheet each week, I had each category, I had each measurement put down, and then at the end of the project, I actually added up each column, um, averaged it out, and so I had that listed at the bottom, and then I added those four numbers, the averages, together. And so I actually was recycling almost 9 pounds a week, which, in my opinion, I feel like that's pretty good. I could be wrong, but I felt pretty good about that, knowing that that's how much each week I was recycling. And so over the course of 6 weeks, that actually adds up to be quite a lot. And so I felt pretty good about the project with how much I was actually recycling. And it really gave me more insight into how much people recycle and how much you can do, and kind of what to do with your recycling, what not to do. So learning things like that was super cool, so that I knew for the future how to recycle the correct way. And so I really had a good time with this project, figuring out how much I was actually recycling. And it was a pretty fun experience, to be honest.